It's a great pleasure to have David Siler with us today to talk about the importance of HR certification. David doesn't really need a big introduction in the world of certification. He is the guru, he is the man. He's been a great partner for EA&E and many other employer associations. This is set up as a Zoom meeting, which means if you have questions at any time, you can put something in the chat box, or you can come off mute, turn your camera on if you want, raise your hand, and just say, hey, I've got a question, David, and David will be more than happy to field your question. So with that, I am going to turn it over to David Siler and let him walk you through the importance of HR certification. Thanks, David.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Sorry for the Southern accent. You're going to have to put up with that for a little while anyway. But I want to try to answer, I guess, the questions that someone might have if they're thinking about certification. I mean, some of you may already be certified, and you're in this session today just to maybe get another point for recertification. But my assumption is that some of you are considering certification and have not yet pulled that trigger, not yet taken that plunge, decided to go after professional accreditation. And hopefully I, and maybe some of the others in here can, if anyone's got testimonials or want to talk about how it's affected their careers and their professional lives, you know, be glad for you to jump in. So as John said, I'm happy to share the bully pulpit. Anybody that's got something they want to ask, they want to say, feel free to jump in, and I'm good to go with that. But I'm going to talk about certification from the standpoint of a big survey that was done a couple of years ago. Some of you may have, if you've attended the conference last year, I talked about some of these points there, but I was pressed for time there, and I can spend a little more time elucidating you on the importance of certification and why certification is good for your career. And there's a number of reasons for that. But first, let me talk about what we're going to try to do today, what kind of questions I'm going to try to answer. First question is, why would you want to get certified in the first place? And there are pundits out there that want to talk about, it's no good, it's not necessary, it's not important. And the truth of the matter is, in the field of HR versus in the field of, like, to be an accountant, to be a lawyer, to be other professions, to be an electrician, you have to be licensed, you have to be accredited. In HR, you don't have to be accredited to practice in the field of HR. But is there a benefit? And I'm going to try to give you some of the facts and figures that support why being certified is important to your career, is necessary, will put the wind at your back in terms of the phenomena of moving your career along. And we'll even talk about when is it best to get certified. But I'm going to give you the raw facts and figures. So in another debate, and I've actually been to a couple of state conferences where they asked me to debate someone else about, should you go for higher education, like getting a master's degree in HR, or getting a PHR or a CP or an SCP or a GPHR, SPHR certification? Which one is going to help your career the most? We'll talk about that here in a minute also. And then, when is the best time to get certified? I mean, for all of you, it's right now. I mean, we live in very unstable times now, uncertain times in terms of the economy and where businesses are going, and businesses are struggling to some degree. Hopefully your company is not, but a lot of organizations are. And you want to have, again, that wind at your back in terms of your career and career options. And we're going to talk about how this does open up the options, but we'll also discuss when is the best time and which certification. I mean, that's the one that probably, of all the questions I ever get, and I've been doing this for, this year is 30 years, I have been immersed in the field of HR professional accreditation. And which one's best? Which one should I have? And we're going to talk about one or maybe even two certifications, becoming what's known as being dual certified. And dual certifications tends to be, I think, the fastest rising trend that I'm seeing in the field of HR, because there's HRCI and there's SHRM, and they have been at war now for 6 years. When SHRM split off from HRCI, they used to be partners, and now they hate each other in terms of professional accreditation. And it's what I call the accreditation wars. And I would have thought, and I predicted 6 years ago, that 5 years in, one or the other of those two organizations would have killed the other one off. And like most professional accreditations, most fields, there would only be one still standing. And I mean, if you're going for, to pass your law boards, or you're become a CPA, or, you don't need multiple certifications. You just need one, and that field only supports one. But we'll talk about how HRCI and SHRM, neither one seems to be going away. Neither one holds a clear advantage over the other. Now, people have their preferences, but it's only a preference. It's not that the facts support that one is winning the war. In fact, what I think is it's kind of settled into a stalemate, but we'll talk about that a little more. I'll give you a little more facts. So then multiple certifications tends to be what people are going for these days. And, the big question everybody has is, okay, if I'm going to do all this, if I'm going to spend the money, if I'm going to, because it's getting certified, but I'm going to explain why it's a great bang for your buck to invest a little bit of money. And it is a little bit in return, in regards to the return on your investment that you will get based on what the facts and the research indicates. So will it earn me more money? Answer that is yes. It will earn you more money. But let's jump into why would you want to get certified in the first place? And there's all kinds of reasons. Everybody's got their own issues. If you're here, maybe it's because you're morbidly curious as to what all the big hoopla is all about in regards to professional accreditation in the field of HR. And that we'll give you some of the information about that as we go along. But increasing your professional confidence, I mean, actually, the way I describe it is when people complete at least our programs, EANE's programs, when you get certified, there is something I call the swagger factor, that after passing those big, mean, evil exams that, by the way, almost half the people that take those exams fail those exams. So one of the big things I'm going to encourage as we go along is instructor-led programs, letting John and the good folks at EANE help you, support you, guide you through the process. If you are indeed interested, is something that you should jump into. Because doing it on your own, it's somewhat effective, but it's not nearly as effective as having someone to guide you through the process. If nothing else, an instructor can help you save time. They can be more efficient with the use of your time. These exams, these professional accreditation exams, are not like any exam you've ever taken before. They're not like a college exam. They're not like a high school exam. These exams are going to rack your brain. They're going to test you on critical thinking, on your discretion, on your judgment. They're going to give you scenarios and situations. And what everybody thinks the way they pass high school and college was by memorizing your way to a pass. Well, good luck with that plan, because it's not going to work very well. I mean, it might work if you're naturally very intuitive, but having an instructor that can help you go through the process and can help you earn that swagger factor, where you walk into a room, you're the smartest person in the room, because it's the process itself that I think is the real value, not those letters that you earn. I know that's the goal. I know that's what we're after, is earning those 3 or 4 letters that we want to put next to our name, the PHR, the CP, the SCP, the SPHR, whatever certification you want to go after, APHR even, it will give you this sense of confidence upon completion, upon successful completion of this journey towards professional accreditation. Again, not that many. Everybody thinks everybody's certified in HR. I'm going to give you the statistics here in a while of not that many actually hold their professional accreditations. Number of accreditations out there, all kinds of accreditations. The big four right now, and I'm not trying to take anything away from World at Work or any of the, I mean, the CCP that they've got, Certified Compensation Professional, Certified Benefit Professional. There's a bunch of certifications out there that, and I've got most of those, but the PHR, the SPHR from HRCI, the CP, the SCP, those are the ones that bring instant credibility and instant recognition to your profession. And it does set you apart from your peers. It results in greater respect from the organization and in yourself. You'll have such a boost to self-esteem, such a boost to self-confidence upon completion, because the process itself is going to force you out of your comfort zone and force you into your zone of uncomfortable debate, is the way I've always heard it described, and getting you out of your comfort zone into this uncomfortable zone of learning things that maybe you've never done before. Maybe you've never worked with a labor union. Maybe you've never had to design an executive compensation plan. Maybe you've never had to design a training program, conducted a mock OSHA audit, whatever. Well, these tests are going to ask you about that. They're going to demand that if you want to be certified, you need to have and possess that amount of knowledge. But of all the facts, all these points that are up there on your screen, that bottom one, the bottom one is the most important. New skills gained from the prep process. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've helped tens of thousands of people get certified, tens of thousands, and not one complaint ever about what they learned. I mean, yeah, the complaint always is about the test, how evil, how mean, how nasty they are, and they are. They're disgustingly tough. I mean, I recertified, by the way, by retaking the exams. I know I'm an idiot, but that's I'm preparing materials and helping people get certified. So I've taken and retaken maybe 100 certification exams, because you only have to take one if that's all you want. But I've taken and retaken these exams, and yeah, the test itself is not a problem for me anymore. But what it forces me to do is to stretch myself, like it will force you to stretch yourself into areas you may have never encountered before, maybe you've never worked with before, simply because your organization doesn't have a labor union. Your organization has got a compensation department that designs all the compensation programs. Maybe you've never handled an EEOC investigation or had to deal with wage and hour, whichever organization, but you need to know how to do all those things, plus many, many, many more facts to be able to answer the questions that may be thrown at you on the test. And there's a lot. I mean, there's somewhere well north of 1,500 subjects that you could be asked about on the exam. I mean, and some of those subjects is like an all-day program. I mean, Fair Labor Standards Act, which is the big law about how we pay our employees and how to comply with the Fair Labor Standards Act, passed in 1938. It's been around forever. And still, it's one of the most crucified, one of the most messed up, bungled laws. And I mean, it's been around almost 80 years and we still don't know how to comply with that. So by the time this program is over, you will know how to do that. And so the new skills that you gain gives you, I mean, normally about 3 or 4 classes into like a 10 or a 12 class program, people are coming up to me and saying, I'm already using this. And I'm like, oh, Who knew you would actually use this information on the job? Of course you're using this information. And like I said, it will get you into an area you've never done before. But I mean, I've had plenty of people complain about the difficulty of the exam, but nobody has ever complained about, I mean, not one single complaint about what they learned and how much it developed their own personal war bag of new skills, new KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities that they earned by the time all this was over with. All right, so what I'm going to talk about is based on a survey that PayScale did a couple of years ago. And there's not a lot of research out there, so I've got to use what I can find, plus my own personal experiences. I'm going to give you anecdotes about what I know. But this was a big survey, 102,000 respondents. Now, there's only in the United States, about 850,000 HR professionals at the level that are eligible for the PHR or the SHRM CP exam or above. There's more that are eligible for the APHR, the entry-level certification, but the PHR, the Professional and Human Resources from HRCI, the Human Resource Certification Institute, and the SHRM CP, the SHRM Certified Professional Society of Human Resource Managers, Certified Professionals. And by the way, they're right across the street from each other in Alexandria, Virginia, Washington, DC area. Well, so there's a lot more that did not respond to this certification. I mean, there's this survey. I never saw this survey, so they didn't ask me for my opinion, or I would have given it to them. But what this survey said is 34% of the people that responded out of this 100,000, they're certified, holding some kind of certification. That's not my experience. My experience is less than 15% of the field of HR holds one of the certifications I'm talking about. Now, these include World at Work, like CCP, CBP, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. Those are the ones that this survey included in asking the 102,000 respondents. But the numbers that I've seen are much lower. In fact, Amy Dufresne, the head of HRCI, tells me she thinks only 7 to 8% of the field of HR are actually certified. So I'm going to stick with my numbers, saying roughly 85% of the field is uncertified. Maybe you're one of those, and maybe we're going to at least, so the power just flicked on and off here. So hopefully that didn't kick me off of you guys, and it's still flicking on and off. So sorry about that. And I'm going to keep going until I can still see me up on the screen. So
you're good. You're good, David. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I've got a generator outside for these kind of issues. So if the power goes off. So anyway, certification is more rare than you might think. And earning that certification is one of the other line items where does indeed set you apart from your peers. Now, some of you that are at a job, at a company that you've been at and intend to be at for your entire career, maybe you don't need certification, especially if you've been there and you've got some years under your belt. But we're going to talk about how if you're young, if you're mid-career, maybe certification is the way to go. So first, let's talk about this debatable issue. Should I get my master's degree or my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree in HR, or should I go for my PHR or my CP certification? And there's a big debate about that, about which one is preferred. Well, in small to mid-sized companies, actually the research from this PayScale survey was that small companies prefer 2 to 1, you having your accreditation instead of a 4-year degree. And the reason is because a 4-year degree may cover all the subjects, whatever, but a accreditation demonstrates that and can handle almost anything that's thrown at you, because that's what these exams do, is throw everything but the kitchen sink at you. Well, the deal is, but here's the point I want to make about certification, is if you think about it from a financial standpoint, earning your professional accreditation between, let's say you take an instructor-led program and you take one of the certification exams. You're talking about $2,000 roughly, give or take a couple $100, depending. You could even go for 2 certifications with the programs that I know EANE teaches. You can go for both the SHRM and the HRCI certification simultaneously. I mean, it's really the same stuff. I mean, HR is HR. A little bit of difference between the exams, but far more common issues than there are differences. So $2,000. And we're talking maybe 90 days to get yourself ready, maybe 100 days in total. So we're talking 3 months roughly to prepare for and earn a professional accreditation, which the debates, by the way, always kind of end in a tie between which one's more important, certification or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. All right, so if they end in a tie, one of them is $2,000 and 3 months. The other one is $50,000 and 2 years out of your life to earn a bachelor's, or not a bachelor's degree, that's 4 years, but a master's degree. So, and we're talking about a lot of money. I mean, maybe you can find one $30,000, $35,000, $40,000, but it's going to cost you, roughly $50,000 or more to earn that. Well, if you're looking at the cost benefit analysis, I mean, it's not much of a stretch, is not much of a decision as to which one makes the most sense. Now, the truth is that I like both. I mean, I like having, I like having all of that. But in this day and age, in this world, it's not necessarily easy to do that. So small companies, if you're working for a small company or you think you're going to be working for a small company, then 2 to 1, they prefer certification because of the continuing education element. Once you earn a bachelor's or a master's degree, you're done. No more. You don't have to do anything else to keep that master's degree. But professional accreditation, you got to take it. You've either got to do what I do, which is stupid. Nobody does this except people, idiots like me, or folks that are teaching the materials and teaching the program, but which is retake the exams every 3 years. Or you can take and come to seminars, conferences like this, or get yourself a credit hour, and you need 20 of those every year for 3 years, so 60 in total, and then you're reaccredited. Turn those points in and you keep your reaccreditation. So it forces us to continually upgrade and improve and continue to learn throughout our careers. And by the way, I love conferences. I love EANE's conferences. That's the way to go. Going and sitting, taking an all-day class. Okay, fine. It's on one subject. You can sit there for 8 hours. And I personally prefer the smorgasbord cafeteria style offerings of a conference, but you can do it any way you want to, as long as you're getting those hours. But it's forcing you into this continuous learning process. And that's why a lot of smaller companies prefer certification over the degree. But as I said, both is the best. If you really can afford it, you got the time, you got the intellectual curiosity to pursue both, then way to go. Really, the way I say it is, we're taking a master's degree level of information and cramming it into a 90-day process, which is not easy. I mean, it is a lot of work. If you are interested in certification and you're thinking about taking instructor-led programs, then just be ready to work. I mean, just attending the class every week or every time is not going to be enough. You're going to have to do homework. You're going to have to work hard to earn. Again, the way I like to say it is, they don't give these certifications away for free. Again, thus half the people roughly that take the exams fail these exams, and only half pass. And almost everybody prepares. Almost everybody studies. Now, some self-study and some attend instructor-led programs, and there's a big difference between the two. And by the way, any of you that have my materials and you're self-studying, I'm not trying to tell you have no chance. You have a good chance of passing. You have a much better chance than you would using anybody else's materials, and I'm saying that because I believe in our materials and believe in and we're continually working on them. But you have a good chance. I mean, you have a good chance of passing on, but instructor-led programs will save you time, effort, and energy if you go that way, and give you the best chance. I mean, I think we're all in somewhere around the 90% pass rate versus the national pass rates in the low to mid 50% range. Much better odds of getting certified in the first place. All right, so when do you want to go for certification? When in your career is the best time to go for certifications? Well, early to mid-career is what the data indicates, the research indicates as to the best time. It's going to help you with your career, advance your career especially. Well, if these numbers that I've got up there, HR assistants, 22% of HR assistants holding a professional accreditation got promoted in the first 5 years of their entry into the field. HR administrators, 13% got promoted in the first, and by the way, this is versus non-certified professionals. So the statistics, I mean, it's not overpoweringly great, but what it's saying is it's going to give you a 13% better probability. If you're a generalist, you get a 16% better probability of being promoted earlier and faster in your career. And moving your career along faster is, I think, everybody's goal. And it's certainly going to impact you financially over the years and hopefully the decades that you stay in the field. So getting started early and getting accredited early is really important for your careers. Now, there's some eligibility requirements as to how many years you have to serve before you are eligible for the HRCI or the SHRM certifications, but they also combine that with the educational element of whether you have education or not. And I have a lot of students that never went to college, but still we're able to get them certified by learning the body of knowledge and preparing for these tests. So anyway, the whole of these statistics there are just indicating that it will move your career along faster. And what's interesting is that the CHROs, chief HR officers, 56% of them are certified versus the numbers that I gave you, which I'm going to present, even though it's different than what the study indicated, because the study, I think, is only a sample. It's not a broad enough sample. It's a big sample, but not broad enough. And versus 15% of the field that is actually certified. So a survey that we did a few years ago that my organization did was we spent several days, about a week, going through every job board we could find online, looking at professional accreditation, looking at openings for the HR field and tracking that. And roughly what we found was that about half of the HR jobs listed in the United States either require or prefer HR accreditation. But when you got up into the leadership ranks, you got up into management, if a company had it open for an HR manager and a director of HR, vice president of HR, senior vice president of HR, now we're talking well north of 80% of those job ads, want ads, required or preferred professional accreditation. Education certainly is still beneficial, but being professionally accredited gave you even more of an advantage in terms of setting you apart from your peers. As one of the other line items we had earlier on was, it's a resume sorter. I mean, it really is. It really does help you if you find yourself in the situation of having to look for a job, or maybe the inn is full at your place of business and you're ready for a promotion, ready to move up, and you're looking for another job somewhere else. Then being accredited is going to certainly give you an advantage when it comes to applying for another job. So which certification do you want? Well, let's look at the percentages of those people that responded to this pay scale survey. 17% of them, which the PHR is and has been the most popular certification out there in the field of HR. 17% of those respondents hold that certification. And I'm not bad with that number at all. I think that's a pretty good number, actual reflective of the field of HR. SHRM CP, 15%, but a large portion of that 15% had that certification given to them. When SHRM first started certifications 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago now, roughly, they did something they called the pathway. They gave anybody that was currently holding the PHR or the SPHR, they gave them either their CP or their SCP. So a large percentage of that 15%, probably 3/4 of that 15%, that certification was handed to them free of charge, no, because they wanted, once people took the SHRM certification, they thought that would help build their brand and their name and build, and eventually they were determined early on, and they said some things this way, that their determination was that they were going to just overpower HRCI and eliminate HRCI, because HRCI refused to sell out to them. HRCI wanted to keep the certification separate from at the time, the only certifying or certification prep materials that were really being advertised, which was the SHRM prep materials. So they thought it was a conflict of interest, so they stayed separate and did not allow SHRM to buy them out. So SHRM just thought they'd run them out of business, and it hasn't happened. And at this point, I'm not seeing anybody winning this war. I mean, it's settled into, the term I used earlier, as a stalemate. Neither, I mean, when I talk to the SHRM people, they tell me they're winning. When I talk to the HRCI people, they absolutely slam their fist down on the tabletop saying they're winning. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think anybody's winning. So it's kind of settled into this detente of some type or another. So 17% of the respondents hold a PHR, 15% hold an SPHR, 8% of the respondents hold a SHRM SCP, and the rare one, but yet the one that is considered the tippy top of the mountaintop in terms of the most well-respected, the one that brings the most immediate status and image, is the SPHR, the Senior Professional in Human Resources. So what I've said earlier, and I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but you know, what I'm dealing with now is I'm getting a lot of candidates. We're getting a lot of candidates into our program that are going for both their SPHR and their SHRM SCP simultaneously, and are being very successful. And we've adapted and modified our materials to allow people to go for either certification. There's not that much difference between the two certification exams. A little bit in the way they're presented. SHRM has a lot more scenarios, a lot more what they call situational judgment items, where they give you a little story, they ask you questions about the story, and you've got to use critical thinking skills. You've got to apply troubleshooting skills to come up with, all right, here's that scenario where John, one of your supervisors overhears John talking about organizing a union in the break room. Now, what do we do? What can we do? What are we allowed to do? What the laws say we can do? What kind of stance does the company want to take? Are we okay with unionisms, or do we want to oppose unionism? You've got to, based on the little bit of factual information they give you in that scenario, you got to make a decision about that. But other than that, SHRM has more international topics on their test they have than the SPHR, because HRCI has the GPHR. They have the Global Professional Human Resources Certification, which I think is a fantastic certification. And we're actually having people that are taking our program. I had 3 in my last class that got their SHRM SCP, their SPHR, and their GPHR, simply because we've been forced to add a little more international element into our body of knowledge that we're presenting. so they're going for multiple certifications. But SHRM, SPHR has very little international in it. SPHR does not have as much business-oriented questions. They have a few. You have to know what a balance sheet is and an income statement, those kind of things. But the SHRM exams have a lot more business-oriented topics on their test. But that's about it. Otherwise, HR is HR. We hire, we fire, we promote, we transfer, we pay, we reward, we train, we provide a safe place to work, all of that. And that's the way that works. So not a lot of difference between, I'm thinking, if you're going to prepare for one certification exam, go ahead and give it a shot. I mean, it's a little more expensive. Those exams aren't cheap. I mean, we're talking anywhere from $300 up to $600 for the certification exams. But yet, as I'm presenting to you, the value that they give to you in return is immeasurable. I guess it is measurable, it is quantifiable, but there was a study done years ago. I mean, at this point, it's been like 15 years ago, University of Texas in Austin did a study and basically said that over the life of an HR practitioner, that it's worth about $50,000 to you to be certified, is what their study, and that was 15 years ago. I mean, that data is really out of date, but 15 years ago, $50,000 is a lot of money, and still is to me today. But anyway, something to think about. All right, so job prospects, I already talked about, covered this point. 50% of posted HR openings either require or prefer HR certification. 80% of the managers level or above require or prefer. And that trend has been growing. I've been certified now, gosh, it's terrible to say. I have been certified continuously for 37 years. I mean, I've been certified longer than some of you on here have been alive. When I got certified 37 years ago, when I was first starting out in the field of HR, when I got certified, I remember going and telling my boss, yeah, I went and took the HRCI, and in those days they called it the SHRM certification, even though it was HRCI, even had SHRM's name on it, not HRCI's, on my certification, which I've got around here somewhere. Anyway, I went back the next week and told my boss that I'd gone and sat for this certification exam and I was PHR certified. And he was like, what's that? And I went, I don't know. I saw it in a magazine. And I just thought I would test myself. Now, I was right out of graduate school. I had been working in the field about 2 or 3 years at that point. Now, yeah, I've been in this field 40 years this year. And anyway, nobody knew. And for the next 15 years, maybe the next 20 years, when I would list on my resume and I would apply for a job, and I moved up and around different jobs throughout my career, people would look at it and go, what exactly is an SPHR? And I would have to explain it to them because nobody knew. Well, the last 15 years or so, everybody knows what professional accreditation is in the field of HR, even though it's not required. I wish it was required, but it's not required to practice in this field. But I think it does give you an advantage if you do practice in this field. If nothing else, what you have to put yourself through, excuse my language, but the hell you have to put yourself through to earn this professional accreditation. I'm scaring people off right now, but what you have to go through is worth it at the end, and what it pays off. I mean, the old saying is, that things that are worthwhile don't come easy. I mean, you have to put in time, effort, and energy. Same thing with these certifications. But certification has become more respected, more widely recognized. And I hate the fact that we've got 2 certifying agencies from the standpoint of it delegitimizes one certification or the other, which is why a lot of people now are hedging their bets and they're going for both certification, which is a big point of this presentation that I'm giving you right now. So multi-designees is what we're talking about here, where 60%, and this is holding more than one certification, 60% of CPs also hold a PHR. 14% of PHRs also hold a CP. Now, it's kind of interesting. That's because they gave away a lot of CP certifications, whenever, and therefore a lot of people just through the pathway got their certification that way, and got their it was handed to them, given to them. Well, 62.5% of SCPs hold the SPHR. I mean, you can look at these statistics. But the point I want to make to you, is it necessary to be a multi-designee? Is it necessary to be a dual certificate, is what they call them? Is it necessary? No, absolutely not. I mean, holding one is plenty. Just getting your CP is good enough. Holding your PHR is good enough. You don't need to be. I'm not championing that you need to do this. In fact, I do the same thing in my programs and when I'm teaching and the people that I'm working with and the materials that we provide. But you can if you want to. And if you prepare for one, you can go for both. And then maybe even it's an insurance of some type that if I'm going to sit for two, I'm going to prepare for both certifications. But it's okay if I fail one, if I pass the other, because then I've got one, you know, so it's a little more expensive doing it that way, but it's worth it in the long run for you. All right, so is this really going to help me and my pay? Is this really going to boost my pay level? And the answer is yeah. I mean, to some degree, it's not huge numbers, but it puts you a year or 5 ahead in your promotional progress throughout your career. So it will advance your career faster and will help you earn more money. Now, HR certifications in general, some kind of certification, generally certified HR professionals make 17% more than a non-certified professional with the same number of years, the same background, the same education, same amount of experience. So it's definitely pays off, but in actual, and I got a few dollars and cents that, but not, the survey didn't, it was inconclusive to what the actual dollars and cents are going to be. SPHR is a big one, 10% more money than someone with the same level of experience, same level of education, same level in the position, or same level in the HR field, like a manager level or above or below or whatever. So SPHR is 10% more, SHRM SCP 6% more. I mean, I'll take that. That's maybe a couple of years worth of raises for many people. Well, you see the picture of the young lady there with the balloons, and I love the fact her cup, if you look at that, that's the Wonder Woman emblem on there. This young lady was in my program a while back, and most all those pictures that I've been showing as I've been going along were done in the last 6 months to 12 months, except this one. This young lady was in my program, never smiled once. She was, I was thinking she like hated me or whatever. And then I get this beautiful picture where she went back the day after she got certified, and she's holding up her certification. She's holding up how her boss, there was recognized the fact she got certified, and there was an envelope on her desk with a bonus and a promotion. And the fact of the matter is, I could probably count, maybe with all those thousands of people I've worked with, I mean, I've heard that kind of story maybe 20 times, you know, so all my fingers and toes. It doesn't happen very often immediately, but over time, it does have an impact. You know, so all these certifications, GPHR, 16%, that's a big one. The certified professional, what is it? Not consultant counselor, whatever. Anyway, that, or coach, that's what that's the biggest one, 28%. I don't know that certification. I don't know anything about that certification. CCP I do have, CBP I do have from World at Work, but I don't even list those certifications. You see my business card, it's got my SPHR, my SHRM SCP, and my GPHR. Even though I currently hold 11 certificates. Stupid, I know, but I'm preparing materials and I need to see how things are done. All right, median pay, how much do you get paid for if you are certified. Well, the SHRM CP, this is pay scale that did this survey, $70,000 for a CP, $72,000 for, and this is countrywide. So I know you guys may live in a different cost of living area than this survey, but on average, $72,000 for those holding a PHR. The SHRM SCP, $107,000, and just slightly above that, a couple $100 more, is the SPHR at $108,000. But it was interesting that I threw this number in. If you live in California, being certified is worth another $20,000 to you. You know, that was, and that's not the California certification. I mean, almost nobody holds that. Like less than 1,000 people hold that certification, but even we have a lot of people from California in our program simply because they have companies spread out, or they have subsidiaries spread out all over the country. All right, so what are the conclusions? This is not, I'm winding up and take any questions anybody has about any of this that I've been talking about. What do we conclude? Well, certification is a smart move. I've been preaching that all along. I mean, that's what you would expect from somebody like me. If I did not believe in certification, why would I be doing what I am? And I have reveled and enjoyed and been honored by the people that share their certifications with me by using our materials, using our program. It is the best gig I've ever had in HR. And I was a vice president of HR for a Fortune 50 corporation, and did that for a lot of years before I went into this. And then certification just kind of took over. And now I'm a one-trick pony. All I do is HR professional accreditation. And that's all that I do. I used to do consulting, just professional accreditation now. Well, it's a smart move. It brings something special to people whenever they do accomplish it. A lot of the people are not doing it because they're seeking a promotion, seeking higher wages. They're doing it because it's a goal that they have. They're doing it because it is a challenge they have set for themselves and something they want to achieve. And it is a heartbreaker for a lot of people. I mean, it will crush your soul and your spirit because the exams are so difficult and so challenging. Even me, I think I told you, I just took the SHRM SCP, the SHRM CP. I had to let my SCP elapse to be able to take the SHRM CP. I'll take the SCP in December and recertify on that one. But I took it just to experience the test again. And I'm sitting there going through the exam going, you know, this is going to be kind of embarrassing if the guy that wrote the book on certifications fails this exam. And when I got my scores, it took 2 weeks to get the scores. I got my scores into the week last week. And I look at it and went, I killed the exam. I mean, crushed it. 6 areas, 3 areas, perfect scores, 2 areas. I might have missed 1 or 2, you know, what you would expect from someone like me that lives and breathes this stuff. But the whole time I'm taking the test, I'm like being terrorized myself going, wow, this is hard. But I must have done something right because we had a really good score. So it's a smart move. It is a difficult move. It is something that you just can't stick your big toe in the water. You got to go ahead and leap head first into it and dive in full body, fully immersed, be serious about it. This has got to be a priority in your life if you want to go for it, but it can help you with your pay, with your advancement, with your career. And if nothing else, other than the self-confidence that you will gain from this process, that is worth every penny that it costs to go through the process. Walking in cold off the street with no preparations is suicidal. I mean, it is good luck. I mean, there may be a handful of people, HR practitioners across the country that could do that, walk in cold off the street and without any preparations. I don't know any of them, but there may be a few. You might be one of those. You're a real brainiac, a real part of the HR intelligentsia. But if you get certified, you're definitely a member of the HR intelligentsia. So dual certifications, if you look at the young ladies over there, their pictures, that they're holding 2 certifications that they got from taking one program. and going after both certifications, and they were successful. And that's, I'm going to say almost a third of the people I work with nowadays are going for dual certification. Hey, knock out 2 certifications for the price of 1 class, and not a bad deal. All right, that's kind of what I've got. You know, I guess I'm just trying to encourage you and champion you and say that certifications are, they're here, they're now, they're real, they have real tangible benefits to you and your career, but it's the process itself that I think is most important and most valuable, that's going to stretch you and allow you to learn and grow. And I mean, look at the smiles on all these faces you've been seeing all along. And I'm lucky that I get to see hundreds of these kind of pictures every year from people that have gotten certified, and they're proud of themselves and proud of the fact that they are setting themselves apart from their peers, and then they're going forth and conquering in this field of HR. All right, what can I do? What questions do you have for me that I could help you with when it comes to HR accreditation?
So there is one question that came up in chat while you were talking. Any stats on the CEBS certificate?
SEBS, I hold SEBS also. SEBS was originally for insurance agents. That's what it originally was for. If you are specialized in the field of insurance, you're a payroll administrator, or maybe not, but if you're an insurance administrator and that's what you do, you work for a really large corporation, then yeah, it is well respected, well known, been around forever, but really it is for someone that is just specializing in that field. Now, having it, I've got it, but I got it years ago, back when I was an HR practitioner, but I got it simply because there were some things I did not understand, and I pursued it not because I really wanted to hold the accreditation, because I wanted to learn more about benefits administration. And if you got your SEBS, you know it all. But that's where a lot of insurance agents have that. And so if you need a fallback career, that's the way, that's the pathway there. But HR practitioner is not a widely recognized, widely held certification. It is a smaller one in the field of HR.
Okay, thanks. And anybody else have a question, you can either come off mute or put it in the chat. And in the meantime, I put up a slide that what David was talking about is the study classes that we offer. So we are taking enrollment for a study class that will start September 14th. It is in person here in Agawam. It'll run from 5 to 8 p.m., basically 10 weeks. There will be some breaks in between the 10 weeks. It is eligible for the Mass Express program. And if you're not familiar with that, reach out to me, John Henderson, and I can help you with that. But basically what it is that if you are in Massachusetts and your company pays into the unemployment tax fund, you can be reimbursed up to 100% if you're 100 employees or fewer, or 50% if you're over 100. And Rhode Island also has a very similar program. I do have a question about, are there study classes in Connecticut? We have not scheduled one in Connecticut. We tried earlier this year and we just didn't get enough people to run the class. The other option is, David, do you want to talk about your online class?
Yeah, we do online programs. We've got several. We've got one starting in August, mid-August, one starting second week of September, one at the end of September. We can offer, we even do one on Sunday nights. I'm teaching some of these. I have some other instructors teaching others of these. We have tremendous success with these programs. They're all virtual, 100% virtual, no live students, at least, that are sitting in the same room with me or the other instructors. You can go to phrexamprep.com or look up Distinctive Human Resources and be guided to the site where we've got these. I know, John, you guys advertise our programs for us, and you can do this virtually if you want to. And hopefully we've got, because we do programs either once a week or some we do twice a week, and we even, like I said, we do on Sundays. We also do we'll have one coming up on Friday afternoons. You just have to see the timing. I didn't bring I should have had that up here also to show the schedule, but I wasn't trying to step on EA&E's programs.
No,
But we offer programs too, and we have a lot of folks. So
yeah, and if anybody has any questions about that or how to find it, you can again reach out to me, and I'll put you in touch with the right people for that as well. What other questions do people have? This has been a lot of great information. You can either put it in chat or come off mute to ask David.
Or I answered everything. I doubt that. I try not to sell fear. And that's something that sometimes comes across, that we're talking about how big, mean, evil, and nasty these exams are. They are. So you need to have a healthy amount of respect for these exams. But sometimes we scare people off. They're like, I don't know that I want to put that much work and effort into it. Let me just say it's worth it. But at the end of the day, it is absolutely worth it to you and your career.
Well, let me ask people to put the answer to this. Oh, is it one session per week? The Agawam session in person is one session per week. And David, I think you said you have some that are twice a week and some that are once a week.
Right. Yeah. We do, ours are set up very similar to yours, John, 3 hours per class, or 3.5 hours that we do our Sunday program. So we get done in a shorter amount of time. All of our programs are designed to end before Thanksgiving. So we're trying to get done before the holidays coming up in the fall test window. See, SHRM only tests in December, January, and half of February. They have 2 test windows per year. So you have to be ready to sit for their exams in those windows somewhere between December 1st and February 15th. Whereas HRCI is open year round. And so we could offer programs year round, but we try to have our programs designed at times so that the time that our programs are ending, it's time for any time for the HRCI exams, but ready to sit for the SHRM exams.
So let me ask everybody if you're willing to put in chat, based on what you heard the last hour, are you scared or are you encouraged? So either put scared, encouraged, or not sure. Let's just get a poll going. Let's see what you took away from this. Are you now more scared? Are you more encouraged? Or are you not sure? Be brave and honest. Both. Okay, thank you. Okay, a lot of scared and encouraged, a little bit of both. Good.
Awesome. Now this is, John, and everybody, my point is, you shouldn't be, I mean, scared, yeah, a little bit. Respectful, yeah, absolutely. But it's doable, absolutely doable. 90% probability that you're going to get certified. Taking a program like EA&E's. I mean, using instructor-led program, using EA&E uses our materials, and we've got the state of the art. We've got absolutely the best on the planet to help you get certified, as long as you're willing to work. That's the only discouraging part of it is, again, they don't give these certifications away for free. You're going to have to put in time, effort, and energy, and you're going to have to sacrifice some. You're going to have to tell family, and it's not that much, an hour to 2 hours a day over that 10-week period of the program. That's it. And I know a lot of you are going to say, but I don't have an hour a day. Organized people can figure it out. If you're not that organized, which is why an instructor-led program gives you the comfort of a structure, and they're telling you what to do and what you need to be ready for by the next test or the next class. I'm a big advocate of instructor-led programs, huge advocate. It's the best probability you're going to have of passing on the first try, and then putting this in your rearview mirror and getting on with your career.